In early 2026, millions of people were sharing a piece of political satire online. The premise was simple and deliberately absurd: an arranged marriage between 18-year-old Barron Trump and Princess Isabella of Denmark. The joke suggested that this fictional union would solve a very real diplomatic headache. Greenland, an autonomous territory of the Danish realm, would serve as a royal dowry to satisfy Washington's growing obsession with acquiring the island. While social media users debated the joke, the conversations in Washington were turning deadly serious. Speaking to political elites at the Alfalfa Club, President Donald Trump casually joked about merging Canada, Venezuela, and Greenland into the United States. Soon after, the rhetoric escalated from dinner party humor to a formal ultimatum. The president then publicly demanded complete and total control of the island, openly refusing to rule out the use of military force if Denmark refused to hand over the territory. The reaction from Copenhagen was immediate. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen firmly rejected the proposition, and in a historically rare move, the Danish Defense Intelligence Service officially listed the United States as a potential threat to national security. The dispute over a mass of Arctic ice had forced a collision between two incompatible worldviews: a transactional American superpower treating nations as real estate, and a European alliance bound by strict historical red lines. To understand Washington's strategy, you must look at the prize. Greenland is the world's largest island, packed with untapped rare earth minerals, and positioned as a critical military stronghold in the Arctic Circle. The American approach relied on treating international law as a set of loose suggestions rather than binding rules. To the Trump administration, historic allies were simply assets to be leveraged, and sovereignty was a hurdle to be negotiated away. This data visualization shows how the White House planned to force the issue. The administration threatened a crushing 25% import tariff on European goods, specifically targeting autos, tech, and agriculture, unless Denmark cedes control of the territory. The economic threats were paired with psychological pressure. White House officials began circulating maps of Greenland covered entirely in the American flag, captioned with a single word: soon. The administration also deployed political envoys, including Vice President J.D. Vance, to visit the island uninvited. Their goal was to agitate local populations and fabricate a rift between the Greenlandic government in Nuuk and the central authority in Copenhagen. Washington bet that the sheer weight of economic coercion and internal social disruption would eventually force a sovereign nation to sell off its own land. Denmark ignored the spectacle, quietly triggering lethal military protocols. Within weeks, elite Danish combat units trained in Arctic warfare were rapidly deployed across the ice. These frontline troops operated under a strict standing order dating back to 1952. By military law, they were obligated to shoot to kill any foreign invader immediately, without waiting for permission from Copenhagen. This illustrates Operation Arctic Endurance. NATO allies dispatched ships, jets, and troops to Greenland, establishing a tripwire force. Sustaining this perimeter required a massive technological net. New coastal radars and warning systems were activated to monitor airspace, deterring American landings. While the military secured the borders, the Danish monarchy wielded history as its own weapon. King Frederick X officially updated the royal coat of arms, prominently elevating the symbols of Greenland to reinforce its permanent place within the realm. The monarchy also delivered a stark visual warning. Prince Joachim appeared in public dressed in full military uniform. In response, Europe had drawn its definitive line. By surrounding the island with allied troops and royal decrees, they proved that annexing Greenland would require a full-scale shooting war between NATO members. The two opposing strategies finally collided in late January, high in the Swiss Alps at the World Economic Forum in Davos. The president arrived expecting leverage, but found a brick wall. The European Union was fully prepared to absorb a trade war, and the NATO alliance stood in open, armed defiance. Facing severe military and economic resistance, the administration abruptly backed down. Trump formally withdrew the threat of tariffs and publicly ruled out the use of military force. To allow Washington a graceful exit, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte helped broker what the president described as a framework of a future deal regarding Arctic security. But the details of this deal offered no new concessions. It simply re-emphasized the existing 1951 Defense Treaty, leaving the United States with no new territory and confirming Denmark's absolute sovereignty. The viral memes of a royal wedding faded from social media timelines. The American ultimatums vanished into the news cycle, leaving the cold, massive reality of Greenland exactly as it was. The crisis ended without a shot fired, but the transatlantic relationship fractured. European leaders realized the old world order had broken, and the era of relying on assumed American goodwill was definitively over.